Yeah, thank you for inviting me to talk here. I'm going to do a very, very quick whistle-stop tour of how to create an RDM service, and a lot of it is already been referenced by Kathy and Robin before. So, from the University of Nottingham, research-intensive university, split across 3 different countries, so UK, Malaysia and China. And we've got about 10,000 researchers, we reckon, in the UK. And they're our target audience for this service. So our project is called the Admire Project. We're an 18-month project funded by GISC with funding from the university as well. And these are all of the work strands that we've got. So by addressing all of this lot, you should end up with an RDM service which is actually useful and viable for your researchers. So I'll go through each of these in turn and kind of give you some of my lessons learned or kind of observations of what we found. So, like Kathy, we have, and Edinburgh as well, we have an RDM policy. This is very high level, very generic, it's quite aspirational in nature. So we're saying that we're not mandating that researchers actually follow this, but we're saying that it's there for you to kind of to reference, and if you follow this policy, basically you will adhere to all of the EPSRC guidelines and things like that. But the only thing about it being quite generic and aspirational is it doesn't really give you a clear mandate. So if you basically you roll out this policy and then you essentially ask, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Basically what we found is almost too generic. So by rolling out the policy, then that implies the institution will then provide an infrastructure and something for the researchers to use. So we had the policy initially approved in October of 2011. It was then going to go to the management board for total approval, and that policy has almost stalled. So we're trying to implement a service without a policy as such. And there are also numerous other research policies within the university that reference data sharing, such as research conduct, an ethics policy, and other things like data security policies. So if you're going to do this, make sure you identify all policies which reference data. So we have quite a large RDM requirements and analysis work package. So here basically we're looking to each of the faculties trying to get typical use cases. So we've interviewed and talked to about 30 researchers from across arts, medicine, engineering, science, all things like that. And we've come up with a requirements catalogue for everything that a researcher could possibly need in terms of an RDM system and for a service as well. From this, we created a strategy document and roadmap which allows us to plan how this service will be implemented. And as part of that, we did an RDM survey. So we sent it out to all researchers in the UK, about 360 responses, and the analysis of that is now complete. I'll give you some highlights of it as such. We found huge variety in types of data. We expected the majority of it to be digital, but actually found that a huge percentage of people are still using lab notebooks. We've got images, we've got manuscripts, we've got all sorts of kind of physical data as well. And we've made a conscious decision really to concentrate only on digital data. But, so in terms of estimated volume of digital data, we have fairly widespread spread. We've got some people in particularly engineering and sciences with greater than terabytes. We've got people with over 100 terabytes of data. And if you average all of that out, you get around 75 gigs per researcher, which is a kind of figure we're going off in terms of costing or service. Data storage, again, USB sticks, network drives, really all over the place. And we did a bit of analysis as well to look at where all this data is actually stored. So typically, researchers are storing data in at least 5 places. So you can see there's a huge problem with research data management. And of those, only 24% are actually creating metadata. So massive spread of data across everywhere, very little data, metadata to actually understand where it is. And going on from that, we know that roughly 70% of researchers are actually externally funded. So it's a big problem, essentially. And with that, basically, you have to have data management plans. So anyone who's externally funded is expected to submit a data management plan. And we know that actually only a very small number, essentially, only 7% have actually received training on it. And I think it's only about 20% of those 70% have actually submitted a data management plan. So to get around this, we're running all sorts of awareness workshops. We've got flyers, we've got a website, we've got a targeted email address. We're also using Moodle to deliver mantra training from Edinburgh. And we've also got a CPD course that any researcher will be able to go to Continuous Professional Development Department and request a training course on audio. And as part of that, we'll have a complete support infrastructure. So we'll have role profiles of what people will actually be able to support the service. So we're looking at librarians and IT support staff at the moment. And we'll be testing all of this with pilots. So we have around 4 pilots planned up until the end of the project, which is the end of June. So looking at how people interact with the service and how they'll actually be using the service in real life. And a key area for us is actually supporting data management plans. So things like the MRC data management plan. You know, it's a very common funder for Nottingham, so we're developing guidelines around that. Technical infrastructure. This was interesting, to put it mildly, because it requires a huge commitment from the university, both in terms of storage and cost going forward, and all sorts of issues around that. But we know that because of our funding makeup, that we have to store the majority of our research data for at least 10 years to meet funding requirements. We had some work done by an external company called Cero. So another thing to say is if you lack the expertise within the university to get your head around all of this stuff, then basically bring people in to do it. Because what they did was almost take all of the work we've done and put it into a nice pretty picture which we could then display. So the areas that will be basically this area that we're going to develop. So we're looking to produce a pilot system of that within the next 6 months, and this is completely based upon University of California's microservices model, which I think was mentioned yesterday. But we do know that we have working data up here, which we're kind of calling UNO, University of Nottingham Managed Cloud, and we're providing roughly 1 terabyte of storage to any user who wants it. But to actually take care of the 10-year backup, we're going to be making this area. And if you want to talk to me in greater detail, you can come and find me essentially. And as part of all this, the last part of the project is basically created a business case. So Bristol have already created a business case, Edinburgh will be looking at theirs as well. And we've been asked to create roadmaps to actually look at how you would hand over what we've done so far into a fully sustainable service by June 2013. So there's a lot to do really in a very short space of time. And I guess it's if you cover all of the kind of elements that I've gone through and more, then you may end up with a service that might just work. Probably.